Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome dear students, myself Dr. Ajay Semalti from Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, HNP Garhwal University, Srinagar, Garhwal, Uttarakhand. In our series of lectures on pharmaceutical production technologies, we discussed a lot of production technologies and then we moved to the drying technology. In specific to the drying technology, we understood what is the concept of drying, what are the various humidity parameters, how they can be determined through psychrometric or humidity chart, what are the phases of drying, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, 4 phases are there. Initial adjustment period, constant rate period, first falling rate period and second falling rate period. We understood what is the concept of equilibrium moisture content, what is the dry bulb temperature, what is the wet bulb temperature. Okay. Then we studied the classification of dryers on the basis of material handling, on the basis of heat transfer, on the basis of dosage form. And very fastly we discussed the spray dryer. Spray dryer are the convection type dryers in which the material is agitated, and we discussed that how with the help of atomized spray of the feed the drying can be achieved in fractions of seconds. We studied the basic principle of spray drying technology and what are the various factors which affect the spray drying. The type of spray, the design of the equipment, formulation factor, process factor, equipment factor, all we studied in the spray drying technology. And we studied how it can be applied in various pharmaceutical industrial aspects. Then we studied the fluidized bed drying, in which the heated air fluidize the bed of material which is going to be dried, and in the fluidized state with the upstream air, hot air, the metal becomes fluidized, and in the Worcester process it is effectively dried, and it can be used, this fluidized bed dryer can be used for the blending, for the coating, for drying, granulation. We studied the pressure drop theory of the fluidized bed drying. That pressure drop increases, then rearrangement occurs, then the pressure drop decreases and the fluidization state occurs in which the drying is done. We studied the construction of vertical and horizontal type fluidized bed dryer and studied what are the various, again, the formulation related factors, process related factors, equipment related factors in the fluidized bed dryer. Now it is the turn to discuss the third most important dryer, which is freeze dryer. Let us discuss in this lecture freeze drying. which is a specialized kind of drying. So let's enjoy this lecture on freeze drying. What we are going to learn after going through this lecture? We are going to learn the concept of freeze drying, the construction mechanism, identifying the factors and the application of freeze drying. How we are going to cover this lecture? We will be covering freeze drying and the freeze dryer, construction, mechanism, factors affecting freeze drying and its application. Now let us start our discussion on the freeze drying. Friends, freeze drying, also called lyophilization, is defined as freeze drying process that removes water from a product after it is frozen and placed under a vacuum. Is often messy but filled with possibilities for potential applications. It is also called lyophilization. Remember the first thing. Okay. What are the products which are suitable for freeze drying? Number one, the bulk material, pharmaceutical and biopharmaceutical ingredients, chemical or biological found in nature, which cannot be dried by any other means due to stability issues or some other issues like protein, collagen, peptide, oligonucleotide, chemical API, enzyme, monoclonal antibodies. But remember one thing, that this must be the last choice of drying because of various issues with this drying. It's not a common type of drying. Okay, remember this thing. If you can dry any material with any other method effectively, don't go for this method. Okay. And at the end of the lecture, you will certainly come to know why I have told you this thing, that this should be the last choice of drying or the only choice of, if you have no other choice, then only you should go for freeze drying. It is also known as lyophilization, gelsification or sublimation drying or drying by sublimation. With respect to the heat transfer, it is classified as a dryer in which the heat transfer is done by conduction and or radiation. With respect to the material handling, this dryer comes under the materials not agitated. Here the material is not agitated like in what we have done in spray drying, what we have seen in the fluidized bed drying. Okay. It is used for drying liquids, semi-solid and solid products. If you go for type of products formulation, it is used in drying of thermolabile materials for the solvent removal, which cannot be dried by any other means or any other equipment, any other technology. It is operated, the most important thing, it is operated at very low temperatures and pressures. So let's elaborate about the freeze drying. What are the advantages? Why we are doing the lyophilization? In this process, processing a liquid with ease and thereby simplifying the aseptic handling is possible. Aseptically, you can dry the product here, enhancing the stability of a dry powder as well as the product stability in the dry state, because dry state is the most stable state. Generally, we are improving the stability by converting a liquid into the solid forms. Say for example, we convert milk into the milk powder. Milk has got the stability problem, but if you convert with the help of freeze drying, it becomes more stable. But remember this thing, milk can easily be converted into the solid product with the help of spray drying. Okay, but the lyophilization, the lyophilization is associated with or is most suitable with the more sensitive products. Removing water can be done here without having or without giving heat to the product. It doesn't require excessive heat, so it is very suitable, most suitable rather, for heat sensitive materials. The dissolution of reconstituted product is rapid and easy here because the lyophilized products or the freeze dried products always have redissolubility. That's why the dissolution and reconstitution of the dried product, freeze dried product, can be done very easily. Now we are talking about the limitations or disadvantages. Here the handling and processing time is very high. You should handle the product very cautiously. Processing time is very high. It is very slow process. Drying requires 1 mm of the freeze layer per hour. Per hour only 1 mm of the layer, 1 millimeter of the layer is converted into the dried product. Sterile diluent is needed for reconstitution. And equipment that lyophilizer as such is costly and complex. It is very expensive product. Now let us discuss theory of drying, theory of freeze drying. As you know, the phase diagram, solid, liquid, gases, there are three phases. In the phase diagram, you see a triple point where all the phases meet, where the vapor, liquid and solid phases are meeting. This is the point A, which is called triple point here, as you can see in this graph. In this triple point, it can the substance can exist in all the three phases. This is the in the case of water, it is the triple point is corresponding to the temperature 0.0099 degrees Celsius and the pressure is 4.579 mm of mercury or 4579 microns. So sublimation is the process. Generally, liquid when frozen is converted into the solid. Solid melts into the liquid, but and when the liquid is boiled or evaporated, it is converted into the vapor. But solid in normal circumstances cannot be converted into the vapor without being converted into the liquid. But the sublimation is the process through which the solid can be converted directly into the, this is the sublimation curve below this triple point. So below the triple point only the solid can be converted into the vapor directly without being converted into the liquid phase. So the temperature and pressure must be below the triple point for possibility of sublimation, and rather it should be well below the triple point, not just at triple point. It's possible practically. So generally the temperature required is -10 to -80 degrees Celsius up to, depending on the material, and the pressure is 2000 to 100 micron, or you can say 0.1 to 2 mm of mercury. So very low temperature and very low pressure is the utmost requirement or the operating condition of the freeze drying. What happens that this is the beauty of freeze drying, that when it is, because in liquid state there are more degradation is it is very prone to degradation. So if you convert directly solid into the vapor, liquid state is bypassed, so the stability becomes more. What is the requirement? What are the three basic requirements for freeze drying? Number one, drying force. Number 2, latent heat of vaporization. And number 3, removal of moisture. Driving force must be positive vapor pressure. Vapor pressure of the water on the surface material being dried must be higher than the partial pressure of enveloping atmosphere. The second condition is the latent heat of vaporization must be introduced to the drying solid to such a rate so as to maintain desirable temperature levels at both the surface and the interior. And the third basic requirement is there must be the provision of removal of moisture at the time of drying, at the time of sublimation, you can say. So driving force, positive driving force, latent heat of vaporization must be introduced, okay, and third, removal of moisture provision must be done. So these are the three basic requirements for freeze drying. Now what are the components of a standard freeze dryer? The compressor is there for freezing, a chamber of vacuum drying, a vacuum source, a heat source, and vapor removal system. So these are the major components of the standard freeze dryer. What is the main process? Sublimation. Sublimation, when the solid is changing into directly into the vapor without being converted into the liquid phase. We have discussed this thing. Now, thorough understanding of the concept of sublimation is a key building block for gaining the knowledge about the freeze drying. Sublimation is a phase change and heat energy must be added to the frozen product for the same. What are the steps of freeze drying? When you go for the freeze drying, first stage is pre-freezing. It may be either by the shelf freezing or by the centrifugal freezing. Second is primary drying. Third, secondary drying. Fourth stage is packaging. Remember this thing. It is always asked almost in the GPAT examination that tell the name of the drying technology in which packaging is the integral part. Here, packaging is the integral part. In the freeze drying, in the lyophilization, in the sublimation drying, packaging is the integral part. Always remember this point. As far as the pre-freezing is concerned, pre-freezing is utmost important. What we do that we before introducing the product into the freeze dryer, we freeze it in the normal refrigerators, okay, so that the freeze dryer require less time. At least some of the time we can cover by pre-freezing, and pre-freezing is done in the shelf or the with the shelf method or centrifugal method. Now let's see this phase diagram, pressure versus temperature. There are the three phases you can see: solid, liquid, and gas. This is the triple point where all the three phases are meeting. It means at this temperature and pressure, water can exist in all the three forms. This is called triple point. For water, this is the temperature is and pressure is defined. Only below this temperature and pressure, the solid can be converted into the gas. Say for example, when we are talking about the freezing the product, what we will do, we will decrease the temperature for freezing that from liquid to solid. So let's see, as you can see in this inset video, that product is being freezed by decreasing the temperature. The liquid is slowly being frozen. Either you do in pre-freezing. Some of the part of this freezing must be done in the pre-freezer in the normal refrigerator, and then meanwhile always remember this technical point, that the time at which you are starting the freeze drying, the temperature already have been reached, should have been reached. If you want to operate the freeze drying, operating condition, recommended operation condition is -40 degree, then -40 degree should already be there when you are introducing the pre-freeze product. Okay, it means, and it requires, remember, it requires almost 2 to 3 hours sometimes, and it depends on uh, equipment to equipment for reaching that particular temperature. And this pre-freezing aspect, as you are seeing, the thickness of this freeze layer is utmost important, because 1 mm per hour is the normal speed of removal of this freeze layer when you are doing the vacuum drying, when you are going for this drying. So ideally in each container, if you are using, either you use shelf drying or you use the centrifugal pre-freezing, in which you have put the material and pre-frozen in freezing, and you are at the same time you are centrifuging it. So cooling centrifuge you are putting it in such a way that is very thin layer is there in the container. So our aim is to have the thinnest possible layer of thinnest possible frozen layer in the that container which we are going to introduce into the freeze dry. Now the next step is primary drying. What happens in primary drying? As we can see here, in the primary drying, the solid, the conditions of temperature and pressure are kept well below the triple point, and at this time, that due to primary drying, what is happening, the solid, that frozen layer is being converted into the vapor, and the vapor removal system must be efficient one. At the same time, when the freezing is completely done, then vacuum should be opened, so that the disengaged, the vapor must be disengaged, vapor must be removed which are coming out of this thing, and the suitable condensers must be used for that removal system. Okay, for disengagement system, suitable disengagement system must be used. So now the vapors have been removed, the moisture have been removed due to the sublimation of solid into the vapor phase directly. This is the primary drying. Now the next step is secondary drying, in which we provide a higher temperature for 30 minutes or 1 hour. In this stage, the last traces of moistures are removed and the material becomes bone dry. Here you can get the packaging started at this time itself within the freeze dryer, because if we will introduce, or if we will take this out, take the sample out at this stage, what happened at the atmospheric environment or atmospheric pressure, if you expose this freeze dried product, what will happen? Remember, recall the equilibrium moisture content concept. It will either gain or lose the heat, lose the moisture to regain its equilibrium moisture content. So packaging must be done at this stage only. So dear students, after studying the various aspects and various steps of sublimation drying and lyophilization, now let us see how many methods are there of freeze drying. The steps we have seen. Now we can see here that there are three different methods: manifold, batch, and bulk. Manifold method, batch method, and bulk method. Rather than going for the ray diagram of the lyophilizer or the freeze drying, we'll be showing you the actual diagrams of the actual equipments of the lyophilizer, so that you can learn how they work and how they look actually in the real setup. Now this is the manifold method, and what you are seeing here as a picture, this is the tabletop or hedgehog type lyophilizer which are commonly used in the laboratories. In these type of lyophilizers, flask ampoules or vials are individually attached to the pores of the drying chamber, as we can see here. They are individually attached to the different openings. These openings may be 4 opening, 8 opening, 12 opening. This kind of number of openings may be different from one model to another model. So here the product, which is either frozen in already in a freezer by direct submersion in a low temperature bath or by shell freezing, depending on the nature of the product and the volume of the volume to be freeze dried. The pre-frozen product is quickly attached to the drying chamber or manifold to prevent the warming. The vacuum must be created in the product container quickly, and the operator relies on the evaporative cooling to maintain the low temperature of the product. This procedure can only be used for relatively small volumes and products with high eutectic and collapse temperature. So this is the control panel from where you can set the variables. So as you can see, the only the small volume samples can be freeze dried in this setup or this setup of equipment. The openings allows different type of samples to be freeze dried at the same time, because they are inserted or they are attached to the different pores. So this is particularly useful in the laboratory setup or the research and development, where the small volumes of the samples are required to be freeze dried. What are the methods of this manifold method? What are the advantages? Since the vessels are attached to the manifold individually, each vial or flask has a direct path to the collector. It has the direct path. Individual port has the direct path to the collector. So this removes some of the competition from molecular space created in a batch system, and is most ideally realized in a cylindrical drying chamber where the distance from the collector to each product vessel is the same. So having the different port for different samples allows different type of samples being freeze dried at the same time, number one, and the competition for molecular space created in the batch system is not compromised here. Competition is less, you can say. So the efficiency of the freeze drying is far better as compared to the batch type or the bulk freeze dryer.
with respect to the quality of the freeze dried product specifically. These type of freeze dryer are usually found in your laboratories, small laboratories, R&D laboratories, or small units, small R&D units. Now let's move to next method, that is the batch method. As we can see, the batch processing can be done. The large numbers of similar size vessels containing like products are placed together in a tray dryer. So it's kind of tray dryer we are placing. The trays, as you can see here, different trays. So like products are only can be this is the difference from the manifold method, in which different kind of different types of product can be freeze dried at the same time, but here only the like products are placed together in a tray dryer. The product is usually pre-frozen on the shelf of the tray dryer. They are already frozen and then they are inserted into the system. The precise control of the product temperature and the amount of heat applied to the product during drying can be maintained. Slight difference in heat input from the shelf can be expressed in different areas. Batch drying is used to prepare large number of ampoules or vials of of one product and is commonly used in the pharmaceutical industry. So you can see these are the larger one as compared to the what we have seen. The capacity is high, but the only problem is that there's only one kind of sample can be prepared in at a particular time, unlike the manifold method, and it is very common in the pharmaceutical industry, the batch freeze dryer or batch method. Now moving to the bulk method. Bulk drying, as you can see, this is the use bulk freeze dryer. Bulk drying is generally carried out in a tray dryer like batch drying, or the other type of different type of other type of design may also be there. However, the product is produced into a bulk pan and dried as a single unit. Although the product is spread throughout the entire surface area of the shelf and may be of same thickness as product in vials, the lack of empty spaces within the product mass changes the rate of heat input. So here the heat input is changing. The heat input is limited primarily to that provided by contact with the shelf. So the bulk has its own limitation due to the size and maybe due to the some other factors, but getting the large quantity at the same time is the one of the prime advantage which we can have in the bulk method. Now let us have some experiments. What I suggest you, do this practice, do this exercise, take two or more different samples. If you are not getting anything, just take the milk, a known amount of milk, drug, or a particular API dissolved in water in known concentration. Then do the freeze drying, perform the freeze drying, pre-freeze it, attach to the port, apply the vacuum immediately, and then at a certain time period when it is completely dried, you have got the dry product, note down the yield. Note down the yield. See the properties of particles under the microscopy. What you can see the particle properties and check the changes in solubility. You can see the changes in solubility. If API you have taken, see the API's solubility, and when you have dissolved it and got the yield as a freeze dried product, see the morphology and solubility of that API. So you can have the difference in the physical properties obtained by the freeze drying. So with this experiment you will be able to come to know then what is the yield, what may be the physical properties like solubility or morphology you can see also in the microscopy. So by this way you will better understand this process as a whole, and I request you, if you are having in your laboratory the freeze dryer, you must, with permission of your teacher, you should perform the freeze drying process. So best of luck for your freeze drying experiment.
So what are the critical factors? The critical factors involve the operating temperature and its maintenance. Obviously, you can do it. Theoretically, it looks that you can do it at the triple point. At the triple point, it can be converted from solid to the vapor. Okay, from ice to the vapor. But practically, you need the temperature well below the triple point, and in general, it is -10, -40. And for alcohol-like component, if you want to remove, if the solvent is alcohol, then you require -60, -80 degrees Celsius temperature. So depending on the solvent to be removed, you require the uh, temperature well below the triple point. For DMSO, it may work. For dimethyl sulfoxide, it may work in -10 degrees Celsius. Okay. Or max -40 degrees Celsius, that so many compounds can be removed. So many solvents can be removed. But you should take care of the temperature and pressure conditions to improve the effectiveness of freeze drying. The vacuum is the second thing. What we are doing, actually vacuum is required for the conditions like vacuum is required for disengagement of removal system. Actually vacuum is withdrawing that moisture, whatever which is being coming out of that freeze layer and taking it to the condenser and the thing. So vacuum must be efficient. The vacuum pump must be efficient. So the efficiency of vacuum pump is utmost essential, and it is the success parameter of a freeze dryer. Then the type of solvent removed, this we have discussed that depending on the solvent, if the solvent DMSO, okay, it can work in -10, but if the alcohol is to be removed, then you should go for higher. The more efficient freeze dryer which can give you the temperature of -60 and -80, which can be operated. Volume of materials to be dried is another critical factor. What kind of material you are drying? What is the requirement there? You must take care of that material what we are trying to dry at this moment. Whether it is thermolabile substances, enzyme, protein, peptides, or any other API. Then thickness of freeze layer of material and type of freezing. What kind of pre-freezing you are employing? We have discussed this thing that the thinner the layer, more efficient will be. The thinner the layer of frozen layer of the material, more will be the efficiency. Because it is a very slow process, 1 millimeter per hour the layer is reduced, or you can say the drying is done. So that's why we must take care of the thickness of freeze layer and the type of pre-freezing, what kind of pre-freezing, how pre-freezing should be done. It should be decided well in advance with proper care. Then the last factors, but not the least, the type of water vapor removal system. What kind of water vapor removal system you are using? Condensers, desiccants, pumps. What kind of removal system you are using? Focus on it. What is your requirement? What is the solvent you are using? What kind of product you are using? It may be possible that you are using a substance which may be corrosive or which may clog the things. So use the condensers, desiccants or pumps depending on the materials to be dried, depending on the solvent to be removed. Okay. What are the advantages of freeze dryer or freeze drying technology? It's a batch process, and in small quantities you can dry the samples. Even it is very useful for research purposes. When you are going for research samples, it can give you the zero moisture content. The bone drying can be done. It has whatever the product is dried through this, the dried product shows the great flow properties and the reed solubility. They are wonderful uh, solubility they are having. They are most suited for the thermolabile substances or the heat sensitive materials. For various kind of biological samples and other kind of thermolabile or heat sensitive materials, it can be used very effectively. But the problem here is it is the very time consuming method. Even just for 3-4 ml of liquid, if you want to evaporate, you may need uh, depending on the solvent, you may need 4-5 hours to maybe up to 12 hours or 14 hours or 24 hours. So it's a very slow process, very slow process. So until and unless it is the last choice, you don't have any other method available, then only this method should be of choice. Here, packaging is the integral part. Packaging is the extra cost associated with the freeze drying, especially when you are using, when the commercial purpose we are talking about. It may not be there for the research purposes in which we are going for R&D, or when we have isolated a compound, we have dissolved this uh, compound in a particular solvent for studying NMR and all that, and then you want to recover it, then you go for the this thing called freeze drying. The packaging may not be required at that time, but for commercial purpose, packaging is must be integral part of this freeze drying process, so that whenever the product comes out of the freeze drying, it should be packaged in the final container and it should not be exposed to the atmospheric condition. Otherwise, it will regain the same moisture which is equivalent to its equilibrium moisture content. And obviously it is an expensive technology, expensive process, expensive equipment with respect to the capital investment, with respect to the cost, with respect to the power, because huge electric is required. The equipment runs for hours and hours, overnights it runs. So, and obviously that's why it is not a cost effective affair, and that's why the product which are freeze dried are always very expensive. Okay. Now, what are the uses of freeze drying? We can use the freeze drying for drying the thermolabile materials, protein, peptide, antibiotics, and the other biological materials. It is very wonderful thing for removing the solvents in research. What happens then? I have isolated a compound. Okay, I want to do the NMR. I am having just 0.5 milligram or 0.2 milligram of the yield. What I'll do? It is not. I cannot experiment with many other. Say for example, solvents. So what I did, I just dissolved it. It is not being dissolved in other solvents, so I dissolved in DMS. Now for dimethyl sulfoxide, you cannot, the universal solvent that DMSO, you cannot uh, just evaporate. So you need to perform the freeze drying for recovering that compound from that solvent after performing the NMR and whatever you are doing, whatever the analysis you are doing. So it is very wonderful equipment in research and development, especially in the natural products and also in the synthesis. And that natural product as well as in the organic synthesis and other, freeze drying is very useful product and is part and parcel of every R&D lab. Drying material which can't be dried by any other means are dried with the help of freeze drying. So freeze drying is the ultimate choice, but it's the last choice. It must be the last choice. Okay. In continuity of studying the uses of freeze drying for liposome preparations, we are studying it now. It is also used for liposome preparation. Remember that it is not itself a method for liposome production. It is not any exclusive method of liposome production, but it is used as a manufacturing process to convert prepared liposomes into dried solid formulations. Lyophilization of a liposome is one of the best ways to circumvent many of the stability problems associated with liquid liposome suspensions. Yes, because liposome is more or less every liposome formulation is associated with the stability issue. It should be noted that during the lyophilization process, the liposomal bilayer structure may be disrupted or punctured due to the temperature stresses generated or due to the ice crystals formed during the initial freezing phase. And this damage may lead to leakage of entrapped components, liposome fusion, and aggregation. So several issues may be there. What to do? What is the solution? Yes, cryoprotectants are the solution. What are cryoprotectants? What is happening here? Freeze drying may also affect the stability of some of the sensitive entrapped molecules such as proteins. They may be sensitive to proteins. The freeze drying may affect the proteins. To minimize this structural damage, underquote, structural damage, lyophilization is conducted in the presence of cryoprotectants. These protectants and cryo means in the freezing temperature. So what are these cryoprotectants? Sorbitol, mannitol, trehalose, lactose, sucrose. These are the examples of cryoprotectants. These cryoprotectants decrease the vesicle fusion and aggregation. First thing. They improve the liposome stability by forming a low mobility amorphous glass surrounding the vesicles during the freezing phase as well as due to the interaction between them and the phospholipid head groups during the freezing cycle. The temperature of formation of this amorphous glass is characteristic of each cryoprotectant and it is known as the glass transition temperature Tg. As you might have studied in the case of polymers, every polymer has certain glass transition temperature. From regulatory perspective, commonly used saccharine based cryoprotectants currently qualify as generally recognized as safe GRAS food ingredients and thus can easily be incorporated into the parenteral formulations. So we have learned this thing, yes, that the cryoprotectants are the stability enhancer when used in the freeze drying process. So please do learn at which concentration they should be used, what are the different categories of cryoprotectants, and this is very useful for you from exam point of view. Now these are the some of the further readings I recommend for you, especially for all whatever we have discussed. The Modern Pharmaceutical Banker Roads is the ultimate text, the Lackman Libel Theory and Practice of Industrial Pharmacy, our own book, and the Altans, Ansell's Pharmaceutical Dose Form. These are one of the best texts. You must go through these texts for entire knowledge of pharmaceutical production technologies and other aspects of pharmaceutical productions. Now let me summarize you what we have learned in this entire lecture. What is the takeaway message? The freeze drying is one of the most time consuming methods of drying. It provides product with great flow properties, great solubility, but the product is very hygroscopic. The process is very time consuming. The process is expensive. It can be used for all thermolabile substances. It can be used for biological materials. It can be used for your research and development work. And as the last choice of drying, when nothing is working, then you go for freeze drying. Sublimation drying at low temperature and pressure is at the freeze drying. Below the triple point, the ice is directly converted, the moisture which is in the frozen phase is directly converted into the vapor, and thereby the drying is done. So what you do, pre-freeze the content, vacuum is applied, and the vapors which are being produced are removed, they are separated, and thereby we do the freeze drying. And the packaging is integral part, especially with respect to the commercial applications. When we are preparing the commercial products, it must be packed within the final container within the process itself at the last stage of process at the time of secondary drying. So pre-freezing, vacuum, vapor removal, primary drying, or secondary drying. These are the major steps. What are the factors which affect? The conditions of temperature, pressure, material to be removed, solvent present there, the types of condensers. Okay. Then the application part. We have discussed already that thermolabile materials, the material which can't be dried by any other means, for research and development, this is the choice of the drying. Before ending the session for the pharmaceutical drying technology, I would like to summarize the entire 5 lectures that we studied. What does the drying mean? Drying is a heat and mass transfer process. It comprises of 4 phases: initial adjustment period, constant rate period, first falling rate period, second falling rate period. At the end of constant rate period, critical moisture content. At the end of first falling rate period, second critical point. At the end of second falling rate period, equilibrium moisture content. Equilibrium moisture content is the moisture content which is peculiar for a substance at a particular temperature and pressure. The drying must not be done beyond the EMC. The humidity chart we studied, what is the percent relative humidity? 100% RH. The relative humidity, that dry bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature, and by determining the dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperature, how we can determine the percent RH, how we can determine the dew point, okay, in which the moisture cannot be carried, when the air cannot carry more moisture, that this is the dew point. Okay, so what are the various parameters related to the humidity, how we can determine it with the help of psychrometric chart, and what is the application of these parameters in drying, we tried to understood in the entire lecture. Then we studied the various types of moistures: bound moisture, free moisture, okay, total moisture content. Then we studied the classification on the basis of handling, heat transfer, dosage form base. These are the 3 major types of classification, and we studied the spray drying, which is by the convection, and material is agitated at this, and with the help of atomizing the liquid and the spray drying contact, and then the vapor removal is done. Okay, vapor the disengagement of remove are done, and the materials produced are of high bulk density, good flow property, high solubility. Okay, so the spray dryer is dependent on the overall design of this system, the atomizer selection, and the heat, the gradient which we have there in the temperature of the material. So then we study the fluidized bed dryer. The fluidized bed dryer, as the name suggests, works on the principle of fluidizing the material which is to be dried. they heated a stream of air. Over the stream of heated air, the bed is fluidized when the pressure drop increases. At the highest point, the rearrangement occurs, and then the fluidization occurs. When the rearrangement is there for the least resistance, at the fluidization stage, the drying becomes very effective, and that this is called the fluidization. At fluidization bed it is called. Then we studied how FBD works, what is the design of vertical and horizontal fluidized bed dryer, what are the factors associated with it, what are the application and other aspects and other application of fluidized bed dryer. Then we have studied in this particular lecture, as you know, we have covered the freeze drying, which is very important with respect to the thermolabile substances and for the R&D purposes. So this was all about the drying technology so far. However, I suggest you to study more dryers, especially the tray and truck dryers, tray and shell dryer, compartment dryer, vacuum oven, and drum dryers. Okay, these are different types of dryers you must go through, and please learn their drawings. For drying technology, the principles, construction, mechanism, and the factors associated must be learned verbatim by heart. Okay, and drawing, even if you represent the entire dryer with the help of a diagram, with the help of a ray diagram, by showing the flow of air, it would be very good for representing the thing in the least words you can present, in the most effective way you can present. We have shown you how to present the things, so please do refer the further readings whatever we have recommended. And thanks for being with us. We'll be coming up with more lectures next time. Thank you. Happy learning.